The military is all about discipline, order, and completely weird rules. Here are the most bizarre military laws in history. During the Zhou dynasty, military drills were seen as sacred. Sneezing was considered a lack of self-control and discipline, which reflected poorly on the entire squad. In Chinese superstition, sneezing was believed to signal bad omens or evil spirits nearby. A sneeze during training was thought to invite bad fortune in battle. Offenders often faced extra drills or minor physical punishments. In extreme cases, they could lose their position in the ranks if it was a recurring issue. In British military tradition, saluting with the right hand symbolized respect and standardization. Left-handedness was often associated with bad luck and even witchcraft in historical Europe. The right hand was considered the sword hand, so a salute with it demonstrated you were unarmed and respectful. This rule was particularly harsh on left-handed soldiers, who had to learn to perform tasks, including saluting, with their non-dominant hand. During World War II, surface ships allowed cats to control the rat population. Submarines, however, were cramped and didn't have the same rodent problems, leading to an official ban. Sailors had a deep cultural connection to cats as lucky mascots. Despite the ban, there were numerous instances of submarines sneaking cats aboard. One submarine crew adopted a cat named Felix, but the captain had to officially remove him due to space and hygiene concerns. Felix ended up becoming the ship's official mascot instead. While cats are no longer necessary for pest control, their role as ship mascots has endured in naval culture. During World War I, German military leaders wanted to portray their soldiers as stoic, disciplined, and battle-hardened. A smiling soldier didn't fit that image. Official photos were often used for recruitment or morale purposes. A serious demeanor was thought to inspire confidence in the German public. In personal or candid photos, soldiers occasionally smiled, but such images were rarely publicized. Today, military photos in many countries encourage camaraderie and morale, with smiles often seen as a sign of unity and strength. Romans valued discipline above all else in their legions. Dancing was seen as frivolous and a sign of weakness, unfit for warriors preparing for battle. Despite the ban, dancing was a popular pastime in Roman civilian life, leading to a stark contrast between soldiers on duty and off-duty. Dancing in armor or on duty could lead to demotion or reassignment to less prestigious roles. Roman victory celebrations often included elaborate dances to honor the gods, proving that even the strictest rules had their exceptions. In the U.S. Navy, sailors weren't allowed to grow beards unless they got special permission. It was partly about looking neat and partly for safety. Gas masks, which protect against poisonous gas, don't work well if you have a beard. A sailor could be told to shave right away or face other consequences, like losing points with their superiors. In some navies, like the British Royal Navy, sailors are still allowed to grow beards today, but only if they keep them well trimmed. In ancient Sparta, soldiers had to look super fit and strong. If you didn't look the part, you couldn't fight. Spartans believed that if you looked tough, you were tough. They thought strong muscles meant a strong warrior. Soldiers who didn't look good enough might not get to fight in the army, or even worse, they'd get kicked out of Spartan society. Today's armies focus on skills and brains more than just looks, but Spartans were all about those ripped six-packs. British soldiers had to follow strict rules for making tea. If you messed up, you could get fined or punished. Tea wasn't just a drink, it was like a national treasure. The British Army thought proper tea showed discipline and pride in their country. Soldiers who made weak or bad tea might get teased or have to do extra chores as punishment. During World War II, British soldiers even stopped battles to make tea. One tank crew brewed tea during a fight and still won. Talk about priorities. Vikings had to clean their swords and axes even in the middle of a fight. They believed blood on their weapons could trap the souls of the people they killed, which might curse them. Plus, clean weapons work better. Vikings who didn't clean their weapons could get into serious trouble because their leaders took this rule very seriously. Vikings were actually really clean people for their time. They bathed often and even had combs and razors, which wasn't common back then. Soldiers in medieval Europe weren't allowed to fart loudly while marching in formation. Commanders thought it was distracting and disrespectful. Plus, nobody wants to march behind someone who just let one rip. Most of the time, they just got teased by their squad mates, but some commanders gave out punishments like extra drills or cleanup duty. Soldiers back then were just like us. They loved a good fart joke. Some even used it as a way to mess with their commanders during boring marches.